My dad married my stepsister and they are now having a baby. My step
Trigger warning. This is gonna be a tough one, y'all. This is gonna be a rough one and a tough one. Man, we about to get into this one though, but men are not protectors. You guys have heard me say it. Most people who frequent my spaces know that men aren't protectors. We're going to go over what men think protection looks like, how they see themselves when they talk about protection, right? We're gonna give you some examples of that. And then I'm gonna show you how men actually aren't protectors, how these two people can't exist at the same time. And I know what you're gonna say before you even say, you're gonna say, but public, this doesn't represent all men. I know it doesn't. I know it doesn't. But what the men that do these things are protected by men who don't do these things. Therefore, men aren't protectors, period. This is how men see themselves in the role of protector, right? Like men always see themselves as like Zeus or Hercules or some Greek fucking mythical god. We always do. When we talk about protection, it's always like, who's gonna wake up in the middle of the night if you hear a strange noise? Who's gonna be the one to go downstairs, right? That's what they think. That's what they think of protection.
If someone breaks into my home, my job, right? I'm the protector, is my wife and my daughter know exactly what to do. My wife gets my daughter, she's calling 911. I'm either standing at the top of the steps or I'm going down to go to work. And I'm gonna go down and go to work because that's my house and I work hard for it. My son's there. When he's little, he would be with mom. As he gets older, he's 28 years old right now, his role changes. I will have him at the top of the stairs, right, at that choke point, with a gun, holding that line so no one comes up if something were to happen to me as I go down and clear that house. As he progresses and gets older and I grow older, right, I become the old warrior, 70 or 80 years old, then it's his job, his responsibility to step up and take my place.
Mm-hmm. The funniest thing about this, even in this instance, I'm going to point out something that another reason why I say men are protectors, because if you were truly a protector, why wouldn't you train your wife how to shoot? Why wouldn't your wife be proficient with handling? Like if you are, I'm saying, if you're a man that's proficient in handling weapons and you're fucking Rambo, why wouldn't your wife be right next to you? Right? I'm sorry, I'm not talking about in that instance, because I understand what he's saying. Like I'm for that. Get out the house with the kid, right? Like that. It ain't about. This is stupid. Protecting your home is stupid. It is. Protecting things, dumb, right? If you and your wife and your daughter can get out of the home, you should get out of the home. You going downstairs talking about I'm going to go to work because I work hard for this. That's your pride. That's the thing that's going to get you killed. That's not protection. Again, another form of protection in this case would have been you training your wife so that, let's say something does happen to you, or let's say you're not there. Then what does your wife do? Cower in the closet, call 911, hoping the killers leave, hoping the robbers leave? No, she should be able to get up and go to work or go stand at the top of the stairs with the weapon and be proficient in its usage. You want to have all that power. You want to be able to control. You don't want her to be able to protect herself. You want her to be reliant on you, which shows that men use protection as a way to manipulate women, which we already know. Men are, like, if you really listen to what men say or what we don't say, we will reveal exactly what we think. Like in this instance, that's how I'm viewing this. I could be wrong, but that's how I'm viewing this. So now first you add the, I'm going to, get up in the middle of the night with the gun and go be fucking The Rock and go, kill everybody in the house or whatever the fuck, right? Fine. That's what you think you are, fine. But then here's like one of the other main ways that men like to, act like they're these protectors. They're always talking about protecting women from themselves as if women are fucking children, right?
The more masculine he is, the more controlling he's going to be. This doesn't mean he's going to be insecure. It means he's going to look to protect you, meaning that the things that you do are going to be something he pays attention to because he wants to make sure that it's for your best interest. And now, do you trust him? If you don't trust him, you're going to call him controlling, and you're going to put a projection on it that he's entitled and wants to hurt you. But remember, he's the person that wants to protect you and give you everything. So don't think that that's not a valuable characteristic. Consider where that person's coming from. Are they doing it to hide from themselves, or are they doing it for your best interest? If you trust him and you feel that the intention deep down is for your own well-being, then maybe listen.
So women or children, the men, we're not controlling, we're masculine. What the fuck? No, sir, you just want to control that woman. That's all it is. And men will use the idea of protection to manipulate a woman and then turn around and say it was for her, for her best interest. It was in her best interest. In reality, it almost never is, because what the fuck do you know about what is best for a woman? The thing about men that blows my mind is men are out here making terrible decisions every day, left and right. But then they turn around and think that they know what's good for a woman. Like, what? You are bad at making decisions yourself. So your credit score is 537 and going down. Your health, you haven't been to the doctor in 9 years. You haven't been to the dentist in 5 months, in 5 years. You haven't worked out. You haven't drank water in 7 months. But you want to protect a woman from herself? Like, please stop.
When a man loves you, he paying attention to every single detail about you. When a man loves you, he fixing problems before they even become problems. If he sees something potentially about to go wrong, he's stepping.
Just so you guys know, you can't fix everything, and you shouldn't be trying to fix everything. Listen to what the men are saying. I want to fix the problem. We're going to fix you can't, you're not, bro. You can't do it. You can't do it. You're not you're not a protector. You're not. That's weird. This approach is weird. You want to fix all now, don't get me wrong. As a man, I personally definitely have been in those situations when my wife would be telling me something about her day or, about an issue she's facing. And, I'm on some, like, I'm feeling hopeless or helpless about it because I feel like I can't do anything. I'm just like, damn, man, that's that ego. You want to be the hero, right? So you want to fix the problem, but A, you can't fix every problem. And B, she doesn't need you to do that. She just needs you to support her the vast majority of the time.
And correcting it. When a man loves you, he protecting you from your damn self sometimes. Because you overthink.
Exactly. Like I said, men also, we either are, our versions of protection is we are either on call for when some mythical fucking intruder ninja, comes in our home, randomly or whatever in the middle of the night, or we're protecting women from themselves. You can't make this shit up.
Thinking, or because you moving too fast or moving based off emotion, and he gonna have to step in there just to make sure that the ship keep running smoothly. A man that loves you is gonna make you feel safe. A man that loves you is not gonna let other people have embarrassing things to say or embarrassing information about you. A man that loves you is gonna make sure that you always in the loop. Make sure that you always feel involved. You're not gonna feel alone when you're in a relationship with a man that really loves you. You're not gonna feel like you're fighting for it by yourself when you're in a relationship with a man that really loves you.
But this same man that really loves you is going to treat you like a child, infantilize you, and think that you need bumpers around you as if you're fucking 5 years old and you're bowling at a bowling alley. Like, shit is weird, bro. You guys don't know anything about protection. Now, those are the ideas that men have of protection right now. Let's look at what men actually do. Shall we? Let's look at what men actually do, though. How we are actually not the protectors. Because none of that has nothing to do with what I'm about to show you. That's nothing to do with what I'm about to show you. Reminder again, trigger warning, very sensitive information. Very, very, very sensitive.
Shut up. Don't talk in here.
I waive my rights.
Don't talk in here.
Rights.
The man deputies say got an 11-year-old pregnant walking out on his own bond hearing.
He's not gonna get bond anyway. He's bond denied. I cannot set bond on anything carries up to life in prison.
Investigators say Derek Kendall Burris assaulted a girl and got her pregnant at 11 years old. Detectives say she is related to an acquaintance of the suspect, and DNA proves Burris is the father of the now 12-year-old girl's baby. Investigators say the girl originally told school personnel the assault was by someone closer to her age, and eventually told them it was Burris.
Anything you want to say, sir?
This wasn't Burris's first run-in with the law. We checked with the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division and learned that back in 2004, he was charged with armed robbery with a deadly weapon and sentenced to 10 years in prison. But it's his charge this year that'll impact a young girl's life forever, according to Susie Cole with the Children's Advocacy Center.
It used to be that people would try to sweep abuse under the rug and pretend it didn't happen, and what we know is it doesn't go away.
She says the center is seeing record numbers of assault allegations, but blatant signs like a pregnancy are rare, so parents need to open a dialogue with their kids.
Or at least in our experience, more than 95% of children are not abused by a stranger, but by somebody they know.
She says
somebody they know, and over 90% of the time, it's by a man. So it's by a man that they know. Fathers, uncles, brothers, family acquaintances. How can we be, how? How can we be the predators and the protect? I don't understand. This is a wild concept to me. This is way, like, I don't think men understand. This is way beyond the idea of like, there are some bad men out there. You can't, like, if it was like far less abuse happening, right? And it was distributed more evenly, like men and women equally committing the abuse, and the abuse was reduced significantly, then I would be in the frame of mind like, yeah, nobody's perfect. No group of people are perfect. There's outlier, you know what I mean? Whatever. But it is so fucking prevalent that you must understand that it is systemic. It is a systemic problem. It is not just these one-off bad apples. If 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 little girls are being touched, 1 out of 4 women by the time they're reach adulthood, they're being SA'd. That means that men aren't protecting little girls. Men are protecting little boys. 1 out of 6 little boys are SA'd. Vast majority of the time by other men. Men are not, we're not doing it. We're too busy running around talking about not my homies, nobody in my circle. Every man thinks that nobody in their circle is capable of that. If you polled him, because think about it, why would he admit to it? If you polled every man and said, do you think that any of your friends in your closest circle, right, your top 2, 3, 4 friends are capable of these crimes or these actions or whatever, what percent of them would say, yeah, I think one of them is. Just one. 1%, 2%, 3%. Like, it would be minimal, right? Minimal. If you polled every man, they know, man, because why would they admit that they knowingly think that there is a man in their clique, in their crew, that not like, it's not like it's capable of it, but you're like, yeah, he would do it. Like that type of vibe, right? Why are you kicking it with them then? Now, what do you look like? So instead, we like to lie to ourselves and lie to everybody. We lie to ourselves and then gaslight everybody else and say, no, nobody in my clique. You're literally, when you do that, this is what I'm saying. When you do that, you are now protecting these types of men, because this man belonged to a cohort of men. He had a group of friends. And all the men in the clique was, all my friends, we stand up daddies and we done it. And you talking about him, you're lumping him in there with your clique. So you are by default now protecting these types of men. That's what I'm saying. That's why by extension, you cannot be a protector now. You are disqualified from the conversation.
they are now, my dad married my stepsister and they are now having a baby. My stepsister has been in our lives since she was around 3 or 4 years old. Her biological father passed away when she was just a baby, so my dad basically raised her as his own. Growing up, they were always strangely close, and to be honest, it did make me jealous because it was so obvious that he loved her more than he loved me, and I'm his firstborn child. For a little bit of context, I'm a year younger than she is, and since I was like 10 or 11, I have had people come up to me and ask me if there's anything going on between them because they just seem so close. Which genuinely seemed insane to me at the time because I could never picture my father doing something like that or being capable of that. They were constantly together though. Like, he would not allow her to have sleepovers with her friends. And my sisters and I were all allowed to have sleepovers whenever we wanted, but she never stayed the night with anyone. She never really dated anyone, and it was like an unspoken thing, but I remember she walked out with a boy out of school one day and she told me to not tell our dad about it. She then grew up to work with him and she stopped calling him dad and started calling him by his real name. Fast forward some years and she's 20 years old and her mother and my dad got a divorce. She got a different job, not working with him anymore, but she continued to live with him just like our brothers did. Fast forward a few more years and I go over to their house and I see that her bed is in the same room as his. I asked them why they did this and they said that they felt like our brothers needed their own rooms individually to themselves, so they just moved her bed into his room. Obviously, I thought that was really weird, like that's not a normal excuse, but then I later found out that that same day, they actually told my other stepsister about their relationship, and she got really upset and was not accepting of it at all. Several months later, I am at my daughter's birthday party, and my little sister shows me a TikTok that my father had posted, and it's a love song with a slideshow of a bunch of pictures of my stepsister, and basically he's proclaiming his love for her. I was shocked and disgusted, to say the absolute least. And then I was even more upset when I find out that I'm literally the last one to know about this. My only full sibling, who should be the one that told me about this, has known for months and didn't tell me about it. And the worst part is that she is supportive of their relationship. I am very much the opposite, which seems normal to me. Like, I'm so confused. After he posted that TikTok with her, I messaged him and asked why he hadn't told me, and he literally just said IDK, and that was 3 years ago, but I've heard differing stories from everyone, and some say that the relationship started like 8 years ago, and then other people say that their relationship started like 11 years ago. But that was the last time that I talked to him. My stepsister is 30 years old and my dad is 51 years old. They got married like a year or so ago, and recently I was scrolling on Facebook and I saw that she was tagged in something, so I went to her profile page and there it is, a pregnancy announcement posted about a month ago, and I am, again, the last one to know. I'm just honestly so sick of everyone thinking that I'm the bad guy because I don't approve of their relationship. Like, I don't understand how no one in my family can see what's wrong here. This is definitely driven a wedge between me and most of my family members, and guess what? Today I got a message from my full-blood sister telling me that their child, their baby that's coming, is a girl. So that's very concerning to me. But I basically have no relationship with my full-blood sister anymore because of her supportiveness towards this relationship, and I just cannot handle it. But yeah, just needed to vent, I guess.
That was rough. That was rough. Obviously, right? I mean, another example of a man who is supposed to be protecting his family taking advantage of that. Like, just sounds normal for men. I mean, that doesn't sound, I mean, that is not, it's not, most men aren't doing, but a lot of men are doing that, right? Like, if 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 5 little girls are being, essayed, to me, I can safely assume that it's probably close to 1 out of 5 men are SAing little girls. You know what I mean? Like I find it like you have to think about it. They said that in that other video, it said like something like 95% of people who are SA'd by people who they know, children that are SA'd by people that they know, right? Okay, so think about that. How difficult would it be for one man in a group of people to SA a bunch of people in that group? Like, that's tough. I don't know if you guys understand. Like, that's not easy to do. That's not easy to do. I'm not saying it's impossible, right? I'm just saying, like, that's not that easy to do, right? So let's lower the numbers a little bit. Let's say it's 1 out of 6 men are SAing the little girls, and 1 out of 5 little girls are being SA'd, right? Fine. You see what I'm saying? Like, I could do that. But you're not gonna tell me that even, here's what I mean. You know what, for argument's sake, because I can hear the men's crashing out over that. And I don't want to, it's not about coddling men, but I want them to be able to hear what I'm saying. I want you guys to actually hear what I'm saying. Let's go lower. Let's go 1 out of 10. Let's go 1 out of 10, right? Which to me seems very, very fair in this instance. Let's go 1 out of 10. So you mean to tell me that there is a 10% chance that if you have 10 friends, one of them has done that or will do that or is doing it. It means that if you got 10 male family members, uncles, cousins, whatever, right? 1 out of 10 have done that or will do that or has done it. You see what I'm saying? So when you guys run around and defend men and say not all men and not my friend, you make it seem as if like, oh my God, these are outliers. In this particular case, 1 out of 10 is not a low enough number. There are certain times when I'm okay with 90% being you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, 90% is great. You know what I mean? But like, if I told you that you had a 10% chance of unaliving by whatever we're doing, right? Let's say, I don't know what it is, right? If I just say, ride this roller coaster. I say, hey, 1 out of 10 people unalive on this roller coaster. Are you going to get on that roller coaster? No. Astronomically high number of people are being unalived on that roller coaster. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. Even though 90% of people get off of it safely, it ain't worth the squeeze. You're looking more for like 1 out of every 100,000 are unalived on that roller coaster. You see what I'm saying? Now you're willing to take that chance. You're like, you know what I mean? Like, accidents happen. You know, like at that point, it's like nothing is perfectly safe, right? Fine. But 1 out of 10, absolutely not. No rational human being is taking that ride, right? That's what this is. 1 out of 10. If I told you 1 out of 10 men are SAing people, 1 out of 10 men have SA'd a girl or whatever, or will SA a woman or girl. Like, does it now? Are you like still like, yeah, man, men are cool and there's nothing to really, I mean, men are okay, man. I don't know why men get a bad rap. Like, no, that's just fucking crazy. 1 out of 10 is crazy. I don't know that number. I have not looked into that. I'm being honest. I'm not one of those people. I'm not going to sit here and spread some shit that I don't know. Like, I don't want to do that. But it just, logically speaking, it makes sense. If 1 out of 6 little boys are being touched, 1 out of 5 little girls are being touched, 1 out of 4 women are being touched, then it's hard for me to believe that that's being done, especially, like I said, when it's happening, it's happening. It's at the hands of people who know the people. I find that hard to believe. Like the numbers would be much lower than 1 out of 10. You know what I'm saying? Or much, I guess, whatever. Yeah, much lower than 1 out of 10. Like it will be 1 out of 50 or 1 out of 100. Doing it 95% of it's like, nah, can't believe it. That doesn't make any fucking sense at all. Now, we have listened to a lot of stuff right now, but I just want you guys to get ready for this story, because this story is a fucking doozy. Okay? This is one of the saddest, most frustrating, most maddening things I've heard in a long time. Very long time.
My husband was sexually abusing our daughter. Here are some of the signs I noticed in her that led to me finding out. As we talk about this, I'll also tell you about common signs of sexual abuse that you can watch for in your own children, even if they aren't signs that I specifically saw in her. Number one, keeping secrets or just not talking as much as usual. I definitely started noticing my daughter keeping secrets from me, as if her shame was increasing with things that wouldn't normally have been shameful before. But also, she was getting quieter and quieter and quieter, and she was getting more and more reserved. Sign number two, not wanting to be left alone with certain people or seeming afraid of certain people. This is not a sign I saw in my daughter, but it is a sign that you should watch for in your own children. My daughter did not seem afraid of her father and didn't usually show signs of not wanting to be left alone with him. I do remember occasionally, if I was leaving for something that was more than a day, she did seem particularly clingy with me, but she didn't express a fear of being left alone with her father. Third, an increase in regressive behaviors or behaviors that just seem like they should be for younger kids. Thumb sucking, bedwetting, things like that. This wasn't a common occurrence with her, but it did occur more than I thought it should at her age. And it did have me kind of going, everything okay? Next, overly compliant behavior. A lot of times people think that a child who's being abused is going to act out and cause a bunch of trouble. And that can happen sometimes. But a lot of times what you also get is someone who is overly compliant, and that absolutely described my daughter. She was so compliant and so worried about being compliant that it often left me questioning what made her think she needed to be so compliant. Spending an unusual amount of time alone can be a sign, particularly if it's a change in behavior. This is not something I noticed in my daughter, but it is something that you could watch for in your own child. Trying to avoid removing clothing to change or bathe. Again, this isn't something I specifically noticed in my daughter, but could be something you notice in your child. Illness or health issues that don't make sense. For example, my daughter had frequent stomach aches and headaches, but nothing really seemed to help that, and nothing that I could see externally seemed to trigger that.
You know what? I actually have the video of the story that she told. She actually told the story about how her husband did this to her. This isn't the video. I could show it. This video is crazy enough, but I definitely want to show that video where she actually tells like what happened. So let me play that one actually.
I reported my husband for the sexual abuse of our child. 8 years ago, I reported my husband for the sexual abuse of our child. Here are some things that I think contributed to the swift arrest that resulted and the subsequent conviction. When my daughter first told me what happened, she was talking to me about something that had happened a while ago. So this wasn't a recent event, but it just happened to be when she told me about it. And we were on our way to an art class of hers. I made sure to check with her and see if she was okay to still go to her art class or if she wanted not to. And she said she did want to. She wanted to kind of distract herself. And I also let her know before she went to her class that I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but that I could promise her that she was not going to have to go home and face him tonight. Whatever that looked like. So she went to her art class. I have almost no memory of the next hour, aside from me just losing my mind in my car alone. I remember feeling like I couldn't breathe, like I was suffocating, crying, screaming. Eventually, I collected myself enough to be able to contact him and tell him, you need to be gone when we come home. I told him, she told me what happened. I didn't ask him if it was true because I already knew it was true. She wouldn't tell me that if it wasn't true. So I already knew. So I didn't ask him, is this true? I just said, she told me. And it's not okay. And you can't be in the home when we come home tonight because she should never have to face you after telling me what she just told me. And he was gone from the home when we got home. He went and stayed in his office space and just lived there for the next few days. Now, one thing that I think was helpful was the fact that I was not screaming a bunch of hateful, awful things to him. I was very overwhelmed. I told him I don't know what's going to happen to our family, but this does have to be reported. We are going to have to talk to DCFS. I'm guessing that our family is going to be separated, and I can't stop that because I can't not report this. Now, this is where a lot of people are going to stop listening and go, oh, you're an enabler, you're this. No, I'm not, because I told him he could not be in the home. And had he not listened to me about that, then I would have taken the kids and gone somewhere else instead. But I ensured from that moment on that he had absolutely no access to the kids at all. There was a time where there was court-ordered supervised visits. That's different. That's another story. But other than that, he had absolutely no access to the kids at all after that point.
And this is what I was saying yesterday, by the way. I was talking about how men aren't disadvantaged in court, right? And this is the story that I was referencing. If you listen to what she said, there was court-appointed visitation between the father and the children while he was being charged. with the rape of their daughter, why would you allow this man? What? Fuck no. So when you hear shit like that, I don't want to hear nothing about the courts favor the women and da-da-da-da-da. No, bullshit. Absolutely the fuck not. Absolutely the fuck not. That's crazy.
No matter how even-keeled I was when I spoke to him or how kind I was when I spoke to him. But anyways, sorry, I had to stop for a second. Another thing that I think was really helpful was that after that point, I stopped communicating to him very much at all, verbally. I made it all written. So it was text or chat or things like that. Sorry. The way I spoke to him after that, so I don't think I spoke to him much that night. I couldn't. I just told him, I was like, I'm reeling right now. I can barely function. I can't talk to you. I made sure to check and see if he was safe where he was, and other than that, I was done for that. The following day, however, when I did speak to him, or when we did communicate through typing, I wasn't hateful. I was kind. I wasn't warm and fuzzy, but I was still kind, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I wasn't calculating or trying to entrap him necessarily, but I did also know that if I was hateful, he would shut down, and there wasn't a good chance that he would be honest about any of this. But if I could speak to him as a human, maybe he would. And he did. It took a few days, but he did end up emailing me and saying, okay, yes, I did. What she's saying is true. Now, his email was kind of vague, but I knew I needed this for proof. I received the email right after we had our interviews with DCFS. I got in my car and I saw there was an email from my husband, and I read it. I was like, okay, but that's kind of vague. I'm going to need him to say more. And so I spoke to him over chat. I said, I got your email, but I need you to be specific. I need to know that you know what you're talking about, that you are owning up to what you did. And so I pushed him to be specific and to take ownership of what he did until he was specific, and he took ownership-ish for what he did. It was at least enough for me to wrap up that conversation. To be honest, at that point, I was really angry, and I said, don't talk to us ever again. I didn't stick to that, and there's reasons I can talk about that, but at the time, anyway, I couldn't talk to him at all after that. I was so disgusted, but I also needed that conversation for proof. So I forwarded that to the detective, and that was a huge piece in what resulted in a swift arrest the very next day. Second thing, or third, I don't know, I've lost count. This is kind of emotional. But anyways, another thing that I think was really helpful was cooperating fully with law enforcement and with DCFS when they asked me to do things or not do things in order to help them with their case. And one of them was when the detective sat me down. This was while the police were searching my home, taking all of our computers. It was mortifying. My neighbors could all see. She sat me down and she said, he's going to be arrested today. He's going to be charged with these charges. She said he'll be charged with first-degree felony sexual abuse of a child. No, first-degree felony aggravated sexual abuse of a child. And there were some other charges on there too. But the main one the main charge was the aggravated sexual abuse of a child. And she said, he's going to be arrested, and it's very important that you do not tip him off. We knew he had 2 guns with him when he left, and we knew that he took his passport, and we knew he took some cash. But the guns that he took, one of them was a sniper rifle, and that made her very concerned. She said, I need to keep my men alive, my team alive. I can't have him having any idea what's going to happen, or he'll be prepared and we could possibly die. I said, absolutely, of course, and I stuck to that. I did not give him any kind of heads up or any kind of warning. It led to his arrest. I did not help him get out of jail on bail. I made his family do that. I said, I will not help with that. And while he was out, eventually, when we did have contact, again, I stayed as human and kind as I could, but also firm. I didn't allow him in our lives. I didn't allow him in the home. I didn't allow him to see the children until I was ordered to. But staying kind led him to continue to be somewhat honest with me sometimes, or to give me access to details about the case and things like that, which eventually led to such an airtight case that he took a plea deal.
That was one of the craziest stories. That story it's sad, it's tragic, and it's very frustrating. But clearly, I feel like I've made a good enough case, right? I feel like when you see everything that men are capable of, and you see how men don't actually protect in the ways that we need to protect, to me, it's easy to conclude that men are actually not the protectors, and we don't have any idea. Well, let me stop. We know exactly what protection is, but we want to use protection as a way to manipulate and control women and everybody else around us, sadly. And I just want men to face the fact that as long as this is prevalent, as long as this is pervasive, this problem, these types of problems, and of course I'm using the most extreme, instances of this stuff, but before you get here, there are 10,000 things that men do that are terrible, that the average man does, right? But let's start with this type of shit. We should be able to stop this type of shit, you would think, right? The very least condemn it. But we don't protect children, and we don't protect women. We don't protect little boys. Sadly enough, that's the reality. That's the reality. Cold hard facts.